show you how you can build an appointment setting chatbot using Voiceflow, Make and Airtable. Now I know there's quite a lot of tutorials out there that show you how you can set up appointment setting chatbots, and they can be quite confusing, so I have kind of made my own sort of method that I think is the most beginner friendly way that you can set this up. I've turned the Voiceflow and the Make side of things into a template, and if you go down to the description, there's a link to our learning center where you can join completely for free and get access to all of our templates, and both of these will be in there, so you can go and get access to them, load them up and tweak them how you need into your own Voiceflow organization. So what I'll do first is I'll show you how this works, and I'll show you in the flesh exactly how it is able to check your calendar and pull back whether the time is free or busy. So I'll load this up into the prototype link, and then we can give it a quick test. Just going to run this in the Voiceflow emulator, but we'll give this a test with a couple times for my calendar, and we'll see what it's able to spit out. So the first things first, it asks for your name. It will also ask for, you can input if you want to have your email captured, your URL captured. I just have this chatbot to ask for the user's name because, you know, we need sort of something to work with. So I'm just going to say topping. Now it will ask for a time. So on my calendar, I have a meeting at 1:30 and 3 p.m. today. So I'm just going to say 3 p.m. when I'm definitely busy. So it's going to be the 29th November at 3 p.m. when I am 100% busy. And we'll see, we can watch this API output module in a second. So what we have here is it says, would you like an email confirmation? So essentially the thinking is here is this is just a bit of a delay, so we can give it time to update Airtable. But what I would recommend, I just have this for an example for the template. Or also another one, I think in the downloadable link I have, it say give me a sec while I check the calendar, and there's a delay for like 5 seconds, but that may not be enough. So what I would recommend doing in here is, this is where you collect other information points from the user, and you can add another API step before we even go and get it from Airtable. So 100% will collect the results. So would you like an email confirmation? Yes, and then it will get it from Make. Busy, beautiful, that is whenever we are busy. So let me just go and check the calendar. I want to make sure I 100% find a time where I am free, and we'll see if this is able to output free as well. Okay, so the 1st of December, which is this Sunday, I am pretty much free all day. So we will go with sometime in the afternoon. Please enter the date and time you would like to schedule an appointment for. So we will go with, that is the 20th, so it'll be the 1st of December at we'll go for 4 p.m. just to be safe. It's running down here. Boom, boom, boom. Do you want an email confirmation? Give it a second just to make sure. Yes, that should be enough time. And we are free. We are available at your chosen time. How would you like to proceed? And this will update it onto your calendar at 4 p.m. Wonderful stuff. So we know that it's working. There's just a couple things to keep in mind. Is really the main thing is the delay. So I have one example in the template. Sometimes depending on like latency, it was working for me. It just says, give me a second while I check my calendar. But that may not all the time be long of a delay. Sometimes Airtable can be quick, sometimes it can be slow. It just depends, you know, on how much usage the API is having, and latency, and you know, Wi-Fi and all that sort of stuff. So I would recommend just having a couple other information capture steps in here. So you could just say, while I check the calendar, could you please enter your email, your phone number, capture that with entities, and then post that to your Airtable. So by the time that's all done, it will 100% be in the Airtable, ready to retrieve. But anyway, enough waffling. Let's find out how we can set this up. So once you have imported this into your Voiceflow account and you've loaded it up, this is exactly what you will see, and I'll explain what is going on here, and we'll be jumping over to make.com here, but up until then I'll explain essentially what's going on and how you can set it up. So the JavaScript module, you just want to pretty much leave this as it is. Pretty much what's going on here, I'll not bore you with what's going on. is that we are taking the timestamp. So Voiceflow has a little variable pre-built into every agent that basically is a like 7-digit, 8-digit number. And basically what that is seconds since January the 1st, 1970. So it's a timestamp, so it allows you to basically work with, it basically tells you when we are now. And then you can run this to determine what the exact date is now. So that's essentially what we're doing. So we're getting the timestamp and we're turning it into a new variable called current date. So timestamp equals date now. And then the formatted date will be turning it into ISO 8601 format and printing it in the current date variable, which is the variable in this scenario. So the current date variable will just equal the formatted date. As you can see here, this is being transformed into ISO. So basically now we have a variable which is the current date, which is great. So we can make sure that the date that the user's entering and compare it to the current date is matching, and it's not sometime 100 years ago in the past. So now great. So we've got a variable set up. It's the current date. So the second thing that we do is we just capture the user's name. Now there's a quick, right, so you can either capture the user's name, email, whatever information here. However, what I would recommend, so I'll quickly explain what's going on here. So we're basically here posting information to Make, and we're getting information back from Airtable, because Make's sending that information over to Airtable and we're getting it back. Now, depending on your network and Airtable's API usage, it may take a couple seconds to update Airtable. So if you have found that you're able to do this quickly and it's updating Airtable in your end pretty quickly, your latency is okay and all that stuff, it seems to be working okay, then you can get away with this. I've set a delay on this for I think like 5,000 milliseconds, so I think that's like 5 seconds. Yeah, 5 seconds. So you can just leave it as this. But what you can do if you want to kind of force a further delay, you can capture the user's information in here. So you can just say, okay, great. While I'm checking the calendar, can you please tell me your email, your phone number, your name, that kind of thing. So it really just depends on how you're finding it. Give it a couple tests and see if you find that this is working and this is provides a big enough delay, because it does take a second to update Airtable. Then you can just keep that, or you may not even need it if it's going that quickly. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind, and it's really something you'll just have to play around with. But if you want to be safe, just add in information capture here, where you're capturing the user's name, their email, well, not their name, but whatever you haven't captured at the start here. This is a bit of an icebreaker. You can just go in to straight away capturing the time. Anyway, enough waffling. So here we get the time that the user wants to book their appointment for. So we say, please enter the date and time you would like to schedule an appointment for. We save that to a variable called appointment time. Now this is an important variable. Okay, so we take that variable and we come down here. Now in the example at the start, I didn't show you this because I don't really need to check for a valid time, because I know that I am entering a valid time. So what you're doing here is we're getting the time that the user has sent, so the time that the user has said they want an appointment for. We basically check to see if this time, the one that the user entered, is after the current time, which is current date, which we got from our JavaScript module. And then if it is after, output 1. So if this is valid and it's in the future, output 1. And if it's not, output 0. And if it's else other than 1, then we come down here, please enter a valid date for your appointment. And if it's 1, we continue. So what you can also do here is you could say, check to see if the user's time is between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. from Monday through to Friday. It really just depends. I didn't build anything in because I wanted to keep it quite vague, because I know, with different times and whatever. But anyway, you get the idea. So what we're doing now is we're changing the appointment time that the user has entered to ISO 8601. Now ISO 8601 format is just like a very it's like a time that computers can read. It's a weird format of date and time that doesn't look very nice to humans, but it looks very nice to computers. So we're changing. So for example, the user may enter like the 29th of November at 3 p.m. like I did at the start. Well, the computer needs to change that so our Google Calendar module in make.com can read it. And then we add 45 minutes to this time. So if your appointments are 1 hour, you may want to add 1 hour here. If they're 2 hours, you may want to add 2 hours. I've just done 45 minutes for an example. So you can change this. All you really need to do is just add whatever, 1 hour here, whatever time you want to add here. And then you're good to move on. So what we've got now is we've got a time that the user wants an appointment in ISO, and the end of the appointment. So we've got this window of time for the appointment that we can use to check our calendar. So we're basically taking this time that we've got from the user, sending it to calendar. In between this time period, is there anything? And that's where we're going over to make.com. Okay, so once you have imported the make template into your make.com account, you want to create a new webhook, YouTube appointment set, copy the address, and put that in there. So basically, this is the information that we're sending to make. We are sending the start and the end. And the start is the appointment time, and the end is the appointment end. As you can see, these variables here, this is we're changing the start, and we're adding however much time to that variable, and we're saying it here, and also any other bits of information that you want to send across. And then the webhook URL just goes in there. Very, very simple. So whenever this runs and you have the scenario on, all that information will hit the webhook whenever the conversation flows past this API card. And now we have got that information in the make. This is where we are basically checking the calendar. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to put the start date. So the module is search events. Obviously, it's already in there. You just want to load up your connection and put the start date as the start, what was sent there from the API step in Voiceflow, and the end as the end card. Very, very simple. So basically, the calendar module will search for events, and it will use this as the start date. Okay, so we're searching from here until here on this day, on this whenever, and if there's anything in between this time, then it's going to return it. So that's how we're able to determine if it's busy or free. So the filter is, for example, busy if total number of bundles. So whenever this runs, there'll be loads and loads of like different IDs and different variables that come out. You want to look for the total number of bundles. So if in between the start and the end date of your appointment there is more than one bundle found in between that time period, it means you're busy. It means you've got an event scheduled, right? And down here, free, if the total number of bundles is equal to 0, so in between this time of the Google Calendar search events, in between the time that the user's booked an appointment for plus the added time, if there's no bundles found in between that time, then it means there's no events in between that time in your calendar. It means it's free, right? And that's where we come down and we add the information to Airtable, and then we add a new event on Google Calendar, create an event. We just say new event with name, and this is where you can add in, if you want to collect email, you can send an invite link, a confirmation. But I've just said new event with name, and it starts now. Start date is going to be the start date from your webhook whenever the user entered the appointment, and the end is going to be the end, the add 45 minutes or however much time. So another quick recap. So we get the user's details, we get their start time of the appointment and the end time in ISO format. We come to Google Calendar and we search events, with the start time being the start time of the user and the end date being the end time. That will pull back any bundles that's found in between the start and the end. So in between those two times, if Google Calendar has found an event, then it will return that as a bundle. And that means it's busy. It means in between that time period you have an event in your calendar. It means you're busy, right? And you can't schedule an appointment. So if the total number of bundles is more than 1, then we're busy. And that's what will be added to Airtable. Busy in the availability field. And we'll go over to Airtable now. And then free is the same, but it hasn't found any bundles in between that time. Nothing is in the calendar in between the time that the users look for an appointment. So you're free, right? Great. And then we add a new event into your calendar. So now let's look at the Airtable setup. So I already have it open. So you just want to create a new sheet, or whatever they call it in Airtable, and create 3 columns. Well, I just have name, busy, free, and created time. You can put anything else here. The name doesn't matter. All we're looking for is busy, free, and the created time. Name, email, company name, phone number can all be added in here, no problem. So if we go over to make, what's being added to this appointment, so as you can see this is on the appointment one. So what's being added here, let's Voiceflow, is the name and if they're either free or busy. Okay, so obviously if we've come down the free path, then we're going to set the availability to free, and that's the availability. Well, it's actually been changed to busy or free. So if I were to refresh that, it should be busy or free. Yep, busy or free. So that column, busy or free, is the most important one, and we're going to be setting that to free because no bundles have been found. Total number of bundles is equal to 0. And up here, because the total number of bundles that have been found is greater than or equal to 1, means something's in your calendar, we're going to set it to busy, okay? And then in the calendar, whenever something gets set, this will be changing. So your name, Finley Topping, busy or free. And then that's what we're going to be pulling back from Voiceflow. So very simple concept, but the most important thing you need to do is you need to add a new field, and it's going to be the created time. Okay, so so basically what that's going to do is, hold on, can I show you again? Yeah, so the created time here, that's the field that you want to add, and you want to sort by the newest created. So created, latest to earliest. So whenever we're on Voiceflow and we're pulling back the first record, it's always going to be the most recently created, and that's why we need to give it a minute to update, a minute to add all of this into Airtable. So I'll show you how we can, so once this information's been added to Airtable, how we can get it back from Voiceflow into the conversation, so we can capture this record that either will say busy or free for the most recently added record, which is the user who's using the chatbot. So like I was saying earlier, this is the delay. So in between us sending the information to Make, it checking if there's anything in your calendar, conditioning it. So if you're busy, you're going up here. If it's free, you're going down here, and it's going to be either adding busy or free into the thingy. We need to buy ourselves a little time. Like I was saying earlier, this is where you want to add your information capture. If it's being really slow or if it's being quick enough and this is working, you can just stick with this. Okay, so the get step, the URL I have put in as a template here. So you basically just want to go into your Airtable base once you've set it up and you've put your fields in, and ever the make scenario is mapping everything in. Okay, and you basically want to map this in. So your base ID and your table name, your base ID I'm pretty sure is this one here. Obviously you can use ChatGPT for all of this. And then your sort field, and then your sort direction is basically, okay, so what is it grabbing and what direction is it going in? So you obviously want to, remember how we put it as the created time, you want the sort direction to be descending, so starting from the top and moving down. And then the max records you just want to put as 1 because we're only retrieving 1 record, and then the field name is whatever the field name is going to be, so busy or free, right? And this will basically pull back the most recently created one because we've set the time as the most recently created, and then we can sort by this column is where we're sorting it, and then yeah, so the other ones that you need is, so that's great, we're making the API call and you need to put your API key in, so you just want to literally copy this word for word, authorization, and then bearer, and then replace this with an Airtable API. Okay, so you can get that in if you go to the developer section of Airtable. Very, very simple. I don't want to drag this out though. And the capture response, so basically we're making the call, that's great, we're getting all the information, but we need to map this to a variable. So this is how you directly map the this field into a variable. And I have got the variable called, I think it's just API output. Yeah, I think it's just API output. So let's go back here. Flip it, clicked off it. So yeah, we need to map the most recently created record, exactly what this says here, into a variable in Voiceflow. So it's either going to say free or busy, and then from there we can say, okay, if this variable equals busy, okay, we're not busy, try again. If this variable equals free, okay, we're free. How would you like to proceed? So the most important part is mapping this to a variable is the capture response, and I think this changed recently. I think they might have updated the formatting in this. So basically, records square bracket 0 close square bracket dot fields dot busy free, or whatever the field is called. So I would whatever you've called this field where the busy or free is going from make, right? That's what you want to put in there. And then you want to apply to a variable. I've just said API output because that is the API output, and then from there, basically, whenever this runs, you're going to be retrieving the most recently created record with that little string. Brilliant. And now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be determining whether what this variable says. So we can go down 2 different paths. So if the API output is equal to free, then the appointment's free. Great. So it's pulled back this record, the most recently created one that says free. So the appointment is free. I don't know why I'm repeating myself so much. And if it's not free, then it means it's something else, which means it's going to likely be busy. And then I'm terribly sorry, we're not available at your chosen time. We are available at your chosen time if it is free. And it's really, really that simple. So these are a little bit tricky to set up, and they are quite hard to explain. You've probably noticed that it wasn't, may not have been explained in the best way, but listen, if you just go and import the templates and tweak a little few things, the main just important thing is you get Airtable set up, okay? Create a new sheet, add, and you want to add your columns, all of the information, doesn't matter, and then the busy or free is the main section. And in make.com is probably the easiest part. You just send that information to the calendar, the 2 time slots in ISO, and then determine and based on what the output is. If there are bundles, it's going to be busy. If there are no bundles, it's going to be free. Then you add that to your calendar. Okay, so like I've said a good few times, this is all going to be accessible in the Learning Center, and following this video you'll be able to map in everything that you need to get it set up for you or for one of your clients. But also just a couple quick things I wanted to throw in. We have a Voiceflow affiliate link, so if you want 2 million free tokens to run chatbots like this cheaper, then you can head into the description, sign up through that. But yeah, no, this is one of these automations where there's a lot of ways that you can do it, but none of them are particularly straightforward, and especially whenever you're trying to get it into like a template format, it can be quite difficult. So I know there may be a couple issues with this. I'll try to keep it very vague in the template and just explain as much what can change all the variables throughout this video. So if you have a question, just let me know in the comments or send me an email in the Learning Center, and I will try and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. But I really do hope this was very helpful, and thank you very much for watching.